to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. It is a pleasure to have you all with us this evening after a 1-0 win at home against the Posh. It was a game that left a lot to be decided in the final third, I think it's fair to say. But we got our chance in the end, and after a painstaking afternoon in front of goal, we put the one in the net where it mattered and came away with 3 points. And here we are. It is a pleasure to have you all with us, as I said, no matter what time or day you're watching this. If you are watching along live, we appreciate you very, very much. And if you want to find out how to get involved with the live streams, then if you head over to our socials, you'll find out all you need to know about those. But as I said, a warm welcome to you all this evening. There is plenty of you in the chat. You are, of course, joined by myself, Ben, new Ben, however you wish to phrase him, and Colin. How are we both doing this evening? Ben, how are you?
Yeah, all good. I mean, I'm smiling. I even see a little bit of a smile from Colin as well. So, yeah, we must have done something right yesterday. Look, I mean, we'll get into it, but it was equally a frustrating and pleasing performance yesterday. But yeah, good.
Expertly put. And how are you this evening, Cole?
Yeah, Sound, yeah. Listen, 3 points in it. It's about building on it now, isn't it? Like I say, we'll get into it. But happy to be doing a podcast on the back of 3 points, of course.
Absolutely. And we won't wait any longer. We'll get stuck into our post-match reaction brought to you by Johnston Tiling. So, of course, 3 points at home. I mean, wasn't goals galore. It's funny, isn't it, Ben? We sat in the preview show and said, after both teams' defensive records this season and how they naturally play offensive football, it's likely going to be an exciting game. And if I remember, we said something similar for Wrexham at home, and we've been wrong on both counts. It wasn't free-flowing goals, was it, mate?
Yeah, I know, mate. When the clock ticked to 90 and it was still 0-0, I had them words in my head. That was on the preview going, oh, we'd predicted the same for Wrexham. We all said, 3-2, 3-3, and it was still 0-0. But yeah, but it wasn't for the lack of trying. I mean, Wrexham was frustrating. We probably should have won it, but at the end of the day, we took a point from it. But yesterday, it would have been a travesty if we didn't win it, because from the first minute, we were the better team, really. Basically, throughout the game, they probably had a 5 or 10 minute spell in towards the end of the first half where they grew into it a bit, but after that, it was all us. And there wasn't really any part of the game where we didn't look like scoring, apart from when it got to, you say the final third, I think it was final 10th that was going wrong. Everything was brilliant up until the last touch, which was lacking. Look, that should come. I know I've been saying it for a while where we're struggling to finish our chances, but you think if we keep creating chances that the goals will flow. And look, it took us to the 99th minute and two missed, a missed penalty and a missed rebound. I don't know. You'll struggle to find that again this season where a player misses a penalty, misses a rebound, and then we still score from it. Yeah, I heard Mark Isles on the last word talking about there'll be a few pints bought tonight and Dion better buy Lolos a few to make up for it. But yeah, no, the performance you can't really argue with it. It was from back to front, it was really good. The defensively was the most impressive, really, because look, they're one of the best attacking teams in the league, maybe the best, and we kept into a couple of breaks where if the final ball was better, maybe they could have had a chance. But look, it was no comparison between the teams, really.
No, I think for all of the game, we were the better side. We had the better chances, and it was just that clinical edge that we missed that could have seen us win 3-4, maybe even 5-0. Good evening to all you channel members in here as well. Brandon, David, Lee, Jordan, Pete. A very, very special welcome to all of you. If you want to find out more about becoming a channel member, then head over to our YouTube channel and you can sign up for just £3 a month and you get a whole host of of nice benefits. You get exclusive access to some emojis of your favorite co-host faces. You get early access to the videos that aren't live streams, and you also get exclusive videos as well. So what's not to love? But Cole, an unusually chirpy start to the podcast from you. An unusual smile.
Honestly,
inside of 6 minutes.
Listen, I'll keep banging this drum about my opinion on the situation. I want Ian Evatt to achieve his goals more than any of you. My stance has purely been, at the moment, and still, I don't see him the man to take us forward personally, whether it be this season, if he miraculously manages to get us promoted, and also next season in the Championship. That's my own opinion in the matter. It doesn't mean that I don't want the club to be successful. Of course, that's a ludicrous thing to think otherwise. Of course I do. But yeah, I just want to kind of set the record straight on that. I'm not obviously wanting Everton to lose or anything like that. That's madness. The game itself, listen, we need to improve in the final third. We can't be expecting to do anything this season if we don't start finishing our chances when we're on top, especially early doors. Not only that, I think the players know that when they don't score early doors, the pressure gets on top of them a little bit, and I think that affects the game unless we score maybe in the first 15, 20 minutes. But yeah, listen, it's 3 points at the end of the day. That's all I can say. I mean, I would have liked to have been more clinical. Yes. Did we get the result? Yes. Was it good? Yes. Did the players try? Absolutely. I think that's one thing that we can't question is the sheer determination to pick up them 3 points yesterday and win at all costs. And that was proven not only going to the final last kick of the ball when it comes to trying to win a penalty, but also the following in of the ball as well, which is when legs are heavy and minds are tired, and to be on it like that, and clearly wanted it much more than the Peterborough players for us to kind of bust a gut to get that ball and put it in the back of the net. It's testament to the lads. They obviously, they've obviously, not giving up any hope on doing something this season. We just need to be more clinical. And Laura, you're a legend.
Laura, you are indeed. Laura is a new channel member. Thank you very, very much indeed. Get your Colin faces and your Ange faces in the chat. Yeah, thank you very, very much. We hope you enjoy what's to come. There's still plenty more. We'll be bringing you some more videos over on the members only section as soon as we can. But one comment that we've had from one of the viewers that I must admit I was thinking about after the Peterborough game. It's from BWFC 2019. He said, "Do you guys not worry about the amount of shots on goals we're having and not scoring?" Yeah, and I think for me, it is an immediate concern because we are finding ourselves in the right positions a lot. We are creating a lot of chances. The Peterborough game, I think, was difficult. There were two glint edge chances, I think, with the Johnston header at the back post that came from a set piece and Vic's header, which was, I think, maybe 4 or 5 yards from goal, and he's put it over the bar.
I think those.
Yeah, it's all around the back of the bar. Yeah, I mean, I think there was more than 2 glint edge chances, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean,
there was shed loads.
Yeah, I mean, Dion went through.
2 that I think, I mean, 2 that looked harder to miss at least.
Yeah.
I think it is a worry. But I was thinking to myself, why are we missing so many chances? And I was thinking of the natural quality of players that we've got in Dion Charles, in Aaron Collins, in McAtee, who are seemingly struggling to find the back of the net on a consistent basis. And I'll throw this back out to you both. But do you think it's something to do with the way that we play? Because if you look at the teams that they've come from, Barnsley were a relatively direct team. They weren't too much possession heavy. Collins from Bristol Rovers would have been used to hitting on the counter-attack. And the way that we play requires players to have a very, very high technical level to be able to, A, not only fashion chances, but B, be in the right positions when those chances come about. There aren't many traditional one-on-ones watching Bolton Wanderers. It's usually a case of the ball comes in from the edge of the box. It's a crowded area. There aren't many occasions where we see players one-on-one, apart from Collins against Burton, Randall Williams against Burton. Those were sort of quick chances. And do you think that has something to do with it? Ben, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, I do see what you're saying. It's a valid point. Actually, NCT20, they do a podcast, little shout out. They do a members only podcast themselves, and asked a question about us over our last 12 home games. We basically outshot our opponents by a crazy amount, and basically only just scored just more. To put it simply, basically only just our conversion rate was way worse than our opponents over the past 12 home league games, and I said it was one of them. We come away from the game thinking, look, discount the Huddersfield game. Come away from the game thinking, I don't know how we've not won that. And Ali made a good point of when you're playing possession-based football, a lot of your chances you're saying, as you're saying, it's crossing to the box with 5 or 6 defenders in front of between you and the keeper. Whereas, the couple of chances Peterborough had yesterday were like counter-attacks where it was basically like, 1 or 2 defenders back, and it was more of a, there was more space, more of a clear-cut chance maybe. And I think there is some merit to that. But I also think just the sheer volume of chances we get is like vastly superior to our opponents. And I think it's just one of them things where sometimes as a team or as players, you go through bad finishing runs. Look, we had Charles for long enough now to know that he blows hot and cold. He'll have 8 or 9 games where he doesn't score, and then he'll score 10 in the next 10. Where his finishing runs hot. Look, Collins joined last year, was struggled for the first 5 or 6 games, and then scored about 3 or 4 goals from the edge of the box where he put it in the top corner. He's not a bad finisher. He's just going through a bit of a bad run. McAtee last year, scored 12 or 13 goals at the same level. Scored some great goals. I remember a couple of times watching the highlights, and he'd put one in the top corner from 20 yards out, or finish a 1v1 smartly, like chipping the keeper or something like that. It's just it is confidence. Look, they've not, apart from Charles scoring the hat-trick, they've not been scoring like freely. It's a case of if 1 or 2 go in, it'll come. And as you say before, 2 of the biggest chances we got yesterday fell to centre halves. And look, like I know they are professional footballers, but you want to fall to your strikes instead of these centre halves. I think it's one of them. Just if you carry on, my footballing philosophy, whatever you want to call it, is just create as many chances as you can and stop the opponent creating as many chances as you can. I mean, it's not complicated, but if you do that at a consistent level, it will fall in your favour more often than not.
Jim's just raised a really good point. It's not a straight comparison, it's a style comparison. City had 22 shots yesterday and scored 1. In terms of, I mean, I say this very loosely for those listening. The way we play is somewhat similar to that of Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. From a talent perspective, I think there's a very, very long way to go for Bolton Wanderers. But stylistically, it raises a good point. Cole, what are your thoughts on it?
I think I said it before in recent weeks, actually, in terms of the reliance upon the wide areas for us to score more goals. And I do think that's a contributing factor towards the fact that our strikers aren't scoring as many as you would hope and expect them to as a collective. Because I'll go through it again. I think defensively, Josh Decker-Cogley is absolutely fine, 7 out of 10. Offensively, he's poor. And I think that's part of the reason why. Denise, you're a legend. Similar surname to Ben, so I presume that she is a relative, but regardless, superstar. Back on line of thought. I do think the reliance upon the wide areas for us to score goals are contributing factors to the reasons why we aren't scoring as many. Cogley, great defensively, awful offensively. Left side, brand new lad to the country, learning the game, learning English football, learning how to fit into that particular position and what's expected of him on the left side. I mean, yesterday I thought he was fantastic, and he's only getting better, and he'll only get better, and therefore only, create more chances for the forwards, which will then score goals. I do also think there's an element of us, we think the players are better than they actually are as well, and our expectations of them are high, rightly or wrongly. there's there's nothing to say that these lads that we've got aren't good footballers. Of course they are. These are going to have been the best footballers at the schools and the academies and yada yada yada. Of course they were, but I do think as fans we have a higher expectation on the players and believe that they're actually better than they actually are in many respects. So when they miss chances, it's like they're awful or whatever, which is obviously not the case. But yeah,
can I just chime in on that? I do see what you're saying about obviously the League One footballers, they're going to miss loads of chances, but it does seem to be that our opposition just score at a higher rate compared to their shots. So they don't, Shrewsbury and Reading and Exeter don't have better footballers than us. I think
a lot of that. Sorry, Ben. I think a lot of that. The reason why that is because when Shrewsbury are finishing their chances at home, the pressure's not the same. They're scoring in front of 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people, whereas our lot have got.
When they scored at our stadium this season, though.
On top of them, on top of that is difficult in it for a League One quality footballer to flourish under high amounts of pressure, and I think that's also a contributing factor.
Yeah, Jim makes a great point. He just flashed up his comment then. You can't forget their keeper. He was man of the match yesterday, and he was. I think he's the fourth keeper. He's the fourth opposition keeper to get man of the match on FOTMOB at our stadium this season. So that has a contributing factor. And you know how I love my stats.
Do you? Want to guess?
Yeah. There is a stat that measures basically where you place your shots in the goal and how many goals it should amount to. And yesterday our figure was 4.1. So the keeper basically saved 3.1 worth amount of goals, basically. The penalty helps that. But yeah, he just had an outstanding game.
Yeah, he had a good game.
We finished poor, but he still had a great game.
Absolutely, and those are the things that you can't really, allocate.
Not every keeper's going to get man of the match against us. Basically, no. It's not going to continue like that. So,
no. Well, you'd be very concerned if it does. You'd be having a look in that away changing room and seeing what's going on. But yeah, it was a great 3 points. It was a necessary 3 points. It was very, very important. And as Colin said,
sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say it's now about building on it, which is exactly what you said before.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a sorry state of affairs that Ian Evatt were right when he said that yesterday was our best performance of the season, because I thought second half we were outstanding. First half we were very, very wasteful, and we did look susceptible in certain parts of the game. But obviously, that a big part of that is the sheer fact that we didn't have any midfield, which is obviously not going to help the situation. But it is alarming for me and highlights how poor of a start to the season we've had when that is our best performance so far. Not to end on a negative, but that's a fact.
And
there's a long way to go. We shouldn't get carried away. We need to build on it. Is basically what I'm saying.
Exactly. We said on the preview, there's 3 big games against teams that are going to be between us and sort of the playoff places, and we have to perform in all 3 basically. One's out the way, but if we don't perform in the next 2, it kind of means nothing.
Absolutely. Comment from Laura, which is another interesting one. I feel Santos has been playing better since the captaincy has been taken away. I think yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. One of those games where you come away from it thinking, thank God we've got him. And one of the games that leaves you with absolutely no doubt as to why he gets put in that, players team of the season every single year. Because he was absolutely exceptional, and maybe that relief and some pressure being taken off his shoulders in the form of losing the captaincy has aided that. So long may that continue as well. But for the first time in a while, we're going to move over to our man of the match segment, and I say first time in a while in the sense that this time it might actually be somewhat of a competition, and we might get a couple of names chucked around, which I don't think has happened for a little while. So your iHeat and Fanzone man of the match, here we go. As always, those of you in the chat, get your comments in who your Fanzone Man of the Match award is going to. And also, give us a little explanation as to why. Usually we just get a couple of names chucked at us, but with there being healthy competition this time around, give us an idea of why people are getting your award. Yes. Col, you're the king of elaboration. You can go first if you would like to.
Love the sound of my own voice. Difficult one. Santos is the obvious choice. Colossus is miles better footballer than the lad that went to Exeter who now plays at Wigan. Sean was great.
I believe you're referring to there.
That's the guy. Forgot who it was. Sean was fantastic again, learning week in, week out, learning how to defend as well, which I was very concerned about when he first started. He didn't look anything like a defender, but against a good winger in Poku yesterday, I thought he dealt with him pretty well. I mean, don't get me wrong, he still turned him inside out a couple of times, which is to be expected because, you know, that lad's a talented winger at this level, and I'm sure he'll go on to have a good career at Poku. But yeah, he impressed. Offensively, he's great. He transitions into the attack very, very well. And I think his usage of the ball as well in the final third is very, very impressive. I'd like him to go on the outside a little bit more. I think Randell offers that. Sean, not as much, but yeah, coming inside and linking up play is really good. And I think he's only going to get better. But for me, yesterday, I'm going to give it to Matete. I thought
very worthy shout.
Was everything we've missed in recent weeks in terms of doing the basics. I just wish he was maybe 2 or 3 foot taller.
3 foot taller?
Whatever.
That'd be a sight to behold.
He's not tall, is he? Basically, is what I'm trying to get at. I just wish he was a couple of foot or 2 taller or whatever. Because I do think we need that kind of dominant midfield, and I think he will be twice the player he is if he was that level of physique. But yeah, he was great. Broke up play very well, did the basic stuff, played the simple passes. People probably say that he hangs onto the ball a little bit too much. I think he's just because he's a better footballer. In terms of his expectancy of the players around him is higher than what we've got at our disposal at present. So he's 2 steps ahead, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, Matete was great. And I think hoping we keep him fit because I think he could be a great asset, not only this season, but fingers crossed long term. I worked with a Sunderland fan who likes him a lot. Was a season ticket holder up until last season. Obviously, he's seen a bit of him. And he kind of says that he's been a bit unlucky to kind of go down the pecking order at the Stadium of Light, and they liked him. But obviously, they're flying, and he's never going to get anywhere near their team. And I think his contract expires at the end of the season as well. So that could be a hell of a free transfer, I think, providing he carries on performing like he did yesterday. Bit of a long-winded way of saying Matete, but yeah, Matete for man of the match.
Absolutely. He strikes me as a very similar ilk to Paris, a very well-rounded footballer, though. I think Paris somewhat lacked a little.
I think he's got a bit more to his game defensively than Paris. Paris defensively was, I think, the reason why he won't progress at Brentford. I don't think yet. I think he needs a championship loan or something. I thought in January, I think hopefully he'll get a championship loan, Paris, and work on that part of his game. But yeah, he's got a bit more defensively, in my opinion.
Absolutely. A very well-rounded footballer. Just a shame that he's only 5'9" and not 8'9". But Ben, who's your man?
Is that what he is? 5'9"? I thought it was smaller than that.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Matete was great. His best game by a mile in a Bolton shirt. I mean, there's not much competition really, but he's hardly played. But yeah, I think a lot of people were worried when Dempsey went off at half time at Birmingham that yet another body missing in midfield. And look to line up with 2 midfield against, an attacking team in Posh that play like a number 10 and 2 6s was bold. But yeah, it worked out. Obviously, they got over on a couple of times. It's going to happen when you play 2 and against, front 4 like that. But yeah, I think he was great. First half, it was 3 or 4 times where like Randall or Collins broke away a bit, and he came back and won the ball back. He seems to play a bit deeper. He kind of played in where Sheehan normally plays, and he allowed Sheehan to drift a bit forward. I watched back the last 19 minutes as it was before, and there's a couple of times where he picked up the ball probably about 10 or 20 yards outside our own box, and basically just ran with it to the halfway line and drifted. Yeah. He's just got a whole team up the pitch. And yeah, he was great. Just obviously a shout out to Santos. I mean, I think he's getting back to the point of we're just kind of used to that being his level most weeks now. He was brilliant. And again, while I was watching it back, which I didn't realise how late it was about 95-30 when Santos was basically one-on-one with their young lad he brought on up top, and he just shoved him out of the way, won the ball back and set us off on the attack, which we won the corner from, and then got the penalty.
Is that the one where he pushed him into the advertising boards?
No, that was about a minute before, actually. It was one basically where he looked like he'd got past him, and he basically just went, mate, it should be about 18, get out of the way. I'll have the ball back. Yeah, Santos was great. I thought Johnston was great, apart from the header he missed at the back post. Great ball in for the corner that we won at the end. Yeah, Sean was great. He seems to be getting more direct every week, Sean. He had a couple of runs where he basically just ran at the right back. There was one where he turned him inside out and cut inside and shot on his right foot. It was a decent chance. But yeah, I'm going for Jamie Tete. He was brilliant. I think if he's right, he's a more defensive version of Paris Montgomery. He seems as comfortable on the ball. Maybe not got the final ball and end product as Montgomery did, but he's kind of glides with it. And if he can sit deeper and allow Sheehan to get further forward, might work out for the better. I do agree, though. We still lack a physical midfielder against, like a Huddersfield or a Wrexham, something like that.
Against anybody. It don't matter. Against anybody at this level. We haven't got any height. We're midgets. Yeah. It's a are you allowed to say that?
Midfield, yeah.
Small people? Yeah. What are you allowed to say, Ben, these days?
Say what you want, mate. Yeah.
Just say they're all short.
Well, yeah, they're short. We're all short, aren't we? Yeah. You look at the size of our team, and it's like we need some height,
especially midfield. Especially
midfield, exactly. Yeah.
An interesting comment that we've had just before we finish off with the man of the match segment. We've had a viewer that's come from Brazil, and he's researching the club's history to start playing with them in EAFC, and he's following and learning about the club. A warm welcome to you. From a
Obrigado.
None of us can. I was going to say none of us can speak Portuguese, and then he went and dropped that.
Of course I can. Yeah.
All the way from Brazil.
You got any stats in Portuguese, Ben?
Loads. I won't bore you with them.
But I think my Fanzone Man of the Match award goes to the name that's standing out in the chat. Rico. He gets mine. I think he prevented maybe 2 or 3 clear-cut chances, and his physical presence was so profound yesterday. I think playing against a team, with all due respect to Peterborough, they're a very, very good side, but they are full of a lot of youngsters. And I think his know-how and his physical presence was very, very important yesterday, and it came through and saved us quite a few times. So for me, he gets my vote, and I think the overall consensus from the chat is Rico as well. But
guess what? We're on the podcast and we said Matete, so Matete's won. I'm sorry, chat.
Yeah. Yes.
No, I would say I think overall Santos maybe was better, but I think he'll get more man of the matches in the season. So
if we've got a Brazilian, watching, Ben, and he obviously speaks Portuguese, can we pronounce Santos's name properly? I think it's Santos, isn't it? Is that not the correct pronunciation? As respect for the Portuguese.
Sounds like an insult.
I think Santos's thick Portuguese accent, we should get him to say it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. All the way from Barnet.
Yeah. Can I give a shout out to Luke Southwood as well? I think that's, although not man of the match, and obviously wasn't really challenged too well throughout the game, but I think Everett said it in his post-match reaction, if that's what it's called when he gets interviewed. He was called when he was called upon. He made a couple of crucial saves. Ironically, one against Santos, and of course that decent effort from the wide area that kind of nearly went into the top corner. I think a lot can be said about a goalkeeper who, when not called upon, makes really big saves. And I thought he was unlucky against Birmingham as well. To be fair, the lad who scored that. Yeah, exactly. And the lad who scored that goal was a belter. I think anybody could have been in net and wouldn't stop that. And then obviously penalty was awful defending from Forrester. But he certainly kept in it in the most part. So he's had a couple of decent games, hasn't he, is what I'm trying to say. So I think he's he's fighting for his spot, which is good.
Makes a world of a difference having a backup that's capable.
Exactly what you're saying. I saw a really good point on Twitter that said, for the first time in a long time, having our first team keeper out, the person who said it, he said he wasn't asked. For years gone by, it's always been a case of first team keeper picks up an injury, thinking, Christ, I mean, even I can remember back as far as when Bananic went out and we were, up shit's creek without a paddle. Unfortunately, my memories don't go too much further than back. But it's nice to have
good point, actually, because it's a good point, actually, because I think as a backup goalkeeper, I don't think we've had as competitive as a two, not in terms of ability, but in terms of competitiveness, since Yossi and Alabzi. Maybe Lonergan and Bogdan to an extent, maybe. Lonergan were a good goalkeeper as a second, but I'm struggling after that. So yeah, it's really good to have two players who are on a par, you might say.
Some further context on our fellow Brazilian viewers' reasoning for joining the stream tonight. He said his club's number 10. You'll have to tell us who your club is, and we'll see if anybody in the chat or on the panel knows them. Is Mateus Pereira? Probably said his name really wrong. But a few years ago destroyed Chelsea, and since then he's followed all the English divisions. So there you have it. The Fanzone pod on tour in Brazil. What more can you ask for? But your Fanzone and I Heat Man of the Match award this evening goes to Jay Matete. Contrary to my thoughts and the majority of the chat, as Ben rightly said, it's our podcast, so we'll have the final say.
It was a close one, though, wasn't it? Could have been either or, really.
It was.
Can I just quickly show off? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's Cruzeiro. Mateus Pereira, ex-West Brom. Went to Al Hilal. He's back in Brazil.
Easy to know that information when you've got a computer in front of you, innit?
Yeah, I'm streaming, mate. I don't log off like anyone else. Yeah.
There you have it. You'll have to let us know if we're right with that one. So Mark Smith has also put it in. Former West Brom player. So there you have it. And Radic Selectized called out the Fanzone pod for being a dictatorship. And yes, you did get it right, Ben. So very well done to you. Secret Brazilian football fan over here. Right, let's move on then. One of our favourite segments. We'll hand over to your resident stat man for a preview of the upcoming fixture.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Get Stat On with the Statman himself. This is, of course, for the game on Tuesday night against Stevenage after a good win against Peterborough. Not said a good win in a while. But, yeah, it was a good win, to be fair. Even if it did come in the last minute, a win is a win. And you need a win, to be quite honest. This segment is, of course, sponsored by Jen Louise Salmon. Thank you very much for that. And I'm sure you know the line I'm about to say. And this will become iconic in the Fanzone community. So if you're looking to buy a gaff, give her a bell. Anyway, thank you very much. And let's move on to the game on Tuesday night against Stevenage, away from home. And Stevenage, while they're pretty crap in the table, with only being 15th, and they've only won one out of the last 5, they are actually all right at home because they have got 4 wins from their 6 games at home. So that's not bad at all. Excuse me. But they do have a bit of a mare in them, you could say. Because they've only actually scored 9 goals in the league this season from 11. And you will not be surprised that is last in the league. I mean, that should be capitalised on, to say the least. You can take a bit more of a risk with the defence, maybe, because they're clearly not proficient goal scorers. I hope I've used the right word there. They have also recently played Peterborough, and they lost 2-1 in the league, and then they got beat 2-0 3 days later in the EFL Trophy. So you know you can win this game, but that has also not been that has not mattered much this season, where if you can win it, you don't always do it. But anyway, what else? They are joint first, so the best for goals conceded per game, with only 0.8 per 90. And that also puts them first for clean sheets. However, this is not necessarily due to an unbelievable goalkeeper, because he's actually only like 14th for like saves per 90. And so they've actually got a good defensive structure. However, I believe I have found a little hole in said defensive structure, which we'll come on to a little bit later. They will not dominate the ball, and they average about 45%. So probably you'll have about 60, 55 maybe would be my prediction. They do press high though when they don't have the ball. So they're actually third for possession won in the final third, which is equates to about 4.1 times a game. So that's quite a lot. So you definitely got to be careful when you're playing out from the back, if you do play out from the back. And I would, as I'm about to show you here. So, first screenshot. Now. That'll be great in editing, I hope. First screenshot anyway. So, Rotherham, this is their last game, are playing out from the back. Their centre-back has the ball, and Stevenage, who are in the purple, pressing them quite high. They've committed 6 people to the press, which is quite a lot. The whole attack and a bit of the midfield. And, well, probably the whole midfield as well, actually, to be fair. And but they've not pressed it right, because the striker has not caught the passing lane. And you may go, Statman, what the hell does that mean? And that literally means if a centre-back is trying to pass to anybody, instead of just running directly at the centre-back, you're running away. That stops, well, it cuts the passing lane. So he can't pass it to that player because you're stood in between. Quite simple, but also not the easiest thing to do, because you've got to check your shoulder every 4 seconds. But yeah, the striker doesn't do it well, and this means the Rotherham centre-back has the easiest pass of his life into midfield, and he bypasses the whole press, the whole midfield, the whole attack. So they're in quite a bad place. And screenshot 2. Now, I'm just making this hard for myself with the collapse, I don't know why. But so the player receives the ball, plays it out to the wing, and that player has quite a bit of time because everybody else has pushed forward, and the fullback is not on him. And if you're going to press that high, the fullback has got to be on him, because he has too much time, and then he can play a through ball to the striker like he does in this screenshot. Obviously, you can't really see that because I can't play a video because we'll get copyrighted. But yeah, so he basically, with 2 passes, or 3 passes, they've cut out the entire team. So that's what happens when your back line doesn't commit to a press. And Stevenage's back line do not always commit to a press. So I would be saying, play out, draw them out onto you, and then attack the space. Because you will be able to exploit that gap between the defence and the midfield quite well with the creative players you have, such as McAtee and a couple others. So this could easily be a game for the 3-4-2-1 with 2 attacking players behind an out-and-out centre forward. But that's just what I think anyway. So you'll have to let me know what you think in the live chat. And enjoy the rest of the podcast, and I'll see you next time.
I must say, usually I am very, very engrossed in what the Statman says, and usually I can't get enough of his segment. However, the live chat this evening is absolutely phenomenal.
I went for Jimmy Riddle then, Ben. So can you bring me up to speed with it all, please? Because I've missed.
You can indeed. We'll go from the top for those of you who are listening on audio only, or perhaps have just joined us a little later, and missed the missed the live chat. We had. We've currently got in the chat. We've got Hugh, who is a Wigan Athletic fan. Hugh, it's very nice to have you with. We do really appreciate opposition fans tuning in. It's not a common frequency, but it's nice. And we've also got, forgive me, I don't know your name. We have a Brazilian fan who's tuned into the podcast because he wants to play with Bolton Wanderers on the new EAFC, which is a football game, probably known as FIFA to most people. But Hugh has said, hello, Bueno. Bolton Wanderers have a historic tradition of losing 4-0 at home to local rivals, Wigan Athletic. To which he responded, Hugh, Bolton have 4 FA Cups. How many do Wigan have?
Whoa.
And Hugh put, when was the last time they won one? To which he responded, the form is temporary and the class is permanent.
Wow.
Expertly put. You really can't get better than that. I mean, all credit to you. You know your Bolton Wanderers history. I can't imagine there's many Brazilian folk watching along at all.
Did you come back with that? Anything after that? Or
he didn't know. He didn't.
No. Surprising.
He didn't. Unfortunately, Hugh's got to go to Blackpool twice next week. And I think people are feeling very...
Wiganers will fit in well in Blackpool.
Exactly what someone else said in the chat. Yeah.
Really? I haven't even seen that, to be honest.
Yeah, someone did put, you'll be right at home. I think it was Brandon.
Yeah. Similar amount of fingers.
But, but yes, thank you very much both for joining us. Your interaction with each other has made for some great podcast content. So thank you very much for that. And we'll head over, Hugh, if you're watching. You might want to stick around for this bit because we're moving over to Cole's Catch of the Week.
Now then, what do we have here? As ever, a selection of horse tweets, whatever Mr. Musk likes to call them these days, but drawn upon. Hello, yeah. Is that a good idea to do that? Yeah. Have you done that on purpose, Ben, so we can still be visible on the screen? Or
I have, yes. I've tried moving the other thing over, but I'm struggling, I must admit.
Yeah. Stick to what we're good at. Sorry. So this is a selection of posts on social media that I've kind of pulled together. Want to draw your attention to a couple of them whilst Hugh is still in the room. Kian has highlighted an archive post of Hugh's back in September, saying "Mind the gap, lads," with the old gif of the wheels coming off the Formula One car with the caption quote "Space Raider head has gone a little bit quiet now." Of course, for those who don't know, is our good Wigan friend. I'll let you all draw your own conclusions upon that.
Can we confirm whether they are the same, Hugh?
Well, I'm going to put 2 and 2 together. Given the fact that we're going to have got about 3 people watching them every week, I'm going to guess it's probably the same one.
I think it'd be
Hugh, if you're still in the chat, let us know.
But yeah, let's see the. I mean, they'll no doubt beat us. There's absolutely no 2 ways about that. But let's see where we all end up at the end of the season. Now, Dan Sumner and Dan Boyles, the battle of the Dans on the left-hand side. Dan Boyles has posted prior. I know we've all got a degree in hindsight, as I say, pretty regular on this podcast. But he posted prior to the game yesterday against Peterborough that posh to win, both teams to score 5-1. Fill your boots, lads. Dan, obviously, many of our later quoted that by saying, "Same time next week for Dan's betting tips." Hashtag. Amusing, somewhat. You two keep it up.
Dan's in with us this evening as well. We've up, Klein and sinker there, Dan, mate. But thanks for tuning in.
A couple of references to them not down the road, struggling at the moment. Potentially could be playing them next season if Everett gets his act together. Currently sitting 14th on 11 points. It's a real shame to see such a historical football club struggling, having spent £500 billion on players. But yeah, Domino's Pizza jumped on that, didn't they, as well, saying they're hoping the drivers can get through a few floods of Man United's tears tonight. Yeah, they're awful.
A bit of Fergie time helps us out, and a bit of Fergie time did them over. It's poetry.
It was lovely seeing the 2 of them yesterday at the Reebok, weren't it?
Yeah.
All glum. Any other posts that have attracted your 2's attention, Ben's?
I mean, I tweeted about it before, but the bro went to hug the ref. If you've not seen it, it's the clip.
Quality.
I don't know how we didn't see it at the time because I sit right behind that goal, and I've watched the penalty decision and the penalty about 100 times over, and I've not seen it until this video. But when the penalty got given, Matete went and knee slid across the box and then went up and ran over to the ref and gave him a little hug. So yeah,
attempted it and
look at
thought
a low
twice
knee
about it.
that's barely played for us this season. It was absolutely loving it, and I mean, thank God we scored in the end because that might look a bit silly afterwards, but yeah, love it.
Pure emotion.
Yeah.
Ben, have you got anything of interest, mate?
I must say, it's not on here tonight, but Marcus, the club videographer who we've had on the podcast, and he's a lovely lad. His efforts to get over to that corner flag and record that the reaction and the celebrations of that penalty were absolutely fantastic. Just I need someone to put like the Mario Kart theme tune on it and then play it of the clip him running over. Brandon, that's a job for you if you're watching. Find that clip of Marcus running across the goal and put the Mario Kart.
Or even better, Shira, and then his little celebration with the hand there. That'll be better.
Honestly, it's impressive how he looks so chaotic on the sidelines, and then when the video comes out, he's absolutely perfect. I don't know how he does it.
It's Ben will know. It's the camera thing he's using. Isn't it?
It's the gimbal that he's got. Yeah, he's got a Rona.
The gimbal. It's the gimbal, everybody. It's the gimbal. Yeah. It's the gimbal. One that I wanted to draw people's attention to was a lovely one. Jimmy L_87. Obviously, I think if my eyes are correct, I think it must be his daughter going to her first game. I wanted to post that because it was lovely. As a father, there's nothing better than taking your son or daughter to a football match. It's absolutely magical. And hopefully you lads in the future will have that privilege because there's nothing better, believe you me. In your 20s, you might not think it, but yeah, when you have children, it's magic. So yeah, I wanted to draw people's attention to that. And finally, I wanted to highlight Alan Swan, who's basically Peterborough's version of Mark Isles, with his salty response, having us scored in the 9th minute of added time, of only 6 added apparently. But it is a minimum, Alan. If you as a journalist, you should know that a minimum of when your team's piss balling about it, excuse my French, you can't really expect anything other, can you, really? But yeah, that's this week's Capture of the Week. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and let's transition into the 3. Ben, are you ready? Come on, maybe messing about. I used to get this on, and
there we go.
There we go.
Seamless.
Awful.
The chat is still going. Still going crazy. I mean, Hugh and Bueno are having a right good night down in the replies. Hugh's asking him which Kinder Bueno he prefers, and then Bueno's replying, "Kinder is very small, like Wigan." It almost feels too good to be true. But
I'm beginning to question that with these kind of responses. To be fair,
I mean, unbelievable. You've all made some great contributions tonight as well. And speaking of great contributions, we're going to go hand over to our Fanzone fan focus for. I mean, things are slowly getting better for Bolton Wanderers.
Slowly. Very slowly.
Slowly. So let's hand over into our Fanzone fan focus and see what you're all saying.
Yeah, it's the fan focus, and as you say, we won yesterday, and it's always a little bit quieter when we win. But yeah, we've had some good comments in. Something we kind of touched on before. I mean, Chris has said much better performance, but still missing chances far too often. Need to string 5 or 6 wins together now. And yeah, as we've discussed, the finishing has been poor. But look, if we're creating chances and consistently, it'll come. And yeah, we agree. 5 or 6 wins would be nice. We'll start with 3, I reckon. As we mentioned before, it's 3 massive games that started with Peterborough. And then one from Leslie, who said about it in the chat actually before, said, "Do we think that Southwood should remain in goal when Baxter is back?" Luke has more than shown he deserves to keep his place as our goalkeeper, and I honestly don't think Baxter has been the same since his injury last season. Cole, what do you reckon?
Interesting. I think Baxter comes straight back in, despite how well Luke Safewood's done. I do feel that the defence is a little bit nervous with Southwood to an extent, from what I can see. They seem not to trust his commanding of his area as much as they do Baxter. But also, I think he's a bit hesitant distribution at the moment as well, from with his feet, in terms of kind of getting us up the field as quick as possible with them balls out to the full-back and the wide areas. As David said, Baxter's our number one. Baxter's a top goalkeeper at this level, and so is Luke Southwood, to be fair. And listen, as I touched upon before, he's doing a lot of good stuff, and he's contributing towards potentially keeping his spot. But yeah, I can't see past Nathan Baxter, to be fair.
Yeah, Ben, what do you reckon?
I mean, Southwood has got he's given himself a great chance of extending his stay as first choice, even when Baxter gets back. And if you look at the fixture list, obviously we've got 4 games coming up, 2 of which are cup games, so it might actually be an option for Baxter to start in the cup games. A little bit less pressure, a little bit less intensity to bring him A, up to speed, but B, also give Southwood the confidence to say, if you've earned your place, then you can keep it, and give Baxter perhaps a firework to say, you set your position's not safe, because we can't have players, becoming complacent, assuming that they are guaranteed first choice. But Baxter is our number one goalkeeper, he's first choice. So it would be interesting to see what happens. But I think, given the nature of the fixtures, with 4 games, 2 of them being cup games, 2 of them being league fixtures, it does present an opportunity for something to happen, some changes.
He's impressive with his ability to be able to make good saves when called upon, when things are going quite well, which he's done in recent games. So that's definitely a good thing from a goalkeeper.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice problem to have, isn't it? Look, we've needed competition all over the pitch, and we've had that in most positions over the past couple of years. But we've said it a million times. Last year we didn't go up because Baxter got injured, and we had injuries over the pitch, and we didn't have the squad to cover it. This year there's no excuses. We've seen Southwood is more than capable to step in, and it's nice. I saw a tweet, I can't remember who it was, who was saying last year when Baxter was injured, I was checking his Instagram, checking his Twitter, checking everything he posts on his stories to see if there's any indication of him becoming fit. Whereas now he's basically not even checked. Look, Baxter is great. We've waxed lyrical about how good he's been since the start of last season, but the drop off is not as big as it was. And look, competition is great for everyone. I'm sure. Look, I know he didn't love it. He's first and foremost a Bolton employee, but when he saw a few Coleman's performances last season, he probably thought, well, I'm back. My place is safe, but might not be the case anymore.
Also worth mentioning, actually, on that point, that Baxter's contract is up at the end of next season, and so if we don't go up, we're going to need a keeper who's had plenty of minutes, and presents an opportunity there for Southwood. He's a ready-made replacement.
This is an interesting comment by my old man, saying that Luke Southwood's learning and Baxter's number one. Luke Southwood's actually older than Nathan Baxter.
Yes, still learning the way that we play. I think still learning
the way that we play. But as a goalkeeper, which is quite interesting, isn't it? Because I think he assumed for some reason, I don't know why, but and I did prior to me just checking the stats. I'm happy to admit that I'm Googling stuff while speaking. Unlike Ben, who'll just pretend
I've just done the same thing. That's his age now. I'll admit when I'm Googling.
No, we're not allowed phones on a live show, Ben. Just put your phone away. Told you this before. In fact, I'm not hosting, so you can do what you want. Sorry, my apologies. No, but it's interesting, isn't it? I think we assume that you're right, Ben. Malt's on about learning the way we play. He's absolutely spot on. But I assume that Baxter was older as well. To be fair,
you make that assumption, don't you? With all, you expect it with all number twos, don't you? You expect the number two to be a younger, prospect, so to speak. But I think I was actually really surprised when we signed him, because he had his number one spot at Cheltenham, and he had, everything set up for him. He could have gone to a handful of League One clubs and probably started every game. But to have a number 2 that keeps us in safe hands, excuse the pun, I think is...
he probably fancied himself, though, doesn't he? He's probably looked at Nathan Baxter, knows that he's a great goalkeeper. I think he even said it himself that they know each other from some past relationship of some description. I think playing against each other or some
relationship.
Academy or something like that. Come on, Ben. I know you're young, but don't show your age. But yeah, they know each other, and obviously he'll probably know his injury record as well, I would suspect. So he knows that he's probably going to get a chance. So that's probably contribution to the move, maybe, Ben. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Possibly, and that that situation with Baxter being out of contract at the end of the season, I would be very surprised if we don't go up and he sticks around. In all fairness, I think he's got what it takes to play at a higher level. Although it didn't work out for him at Hull, so who knows? But
long way to go before we talk about going up this season.
Oh yeah. We're not mentioning the P word for a while.
No.
Yeah. So just moving on. I know we are running out of time a bit. I don't know if we're being strict with the time today. I guess Ben will decide. But David's wrote in about Bila, the keeper. You know what I'm on about. Produced the best goalkeeping performance that he's seen at the Reebok.
What?
I'm assuming he's got a bit short memory. I was gonna put it to the chat and put it to you two. Like it was a brilliant performance, but is there anyone that sticks out in memory to have? Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Well, Ben. I mean, who's he going to be comparing it against?
I'm gonna say I mean, yeah. I don't have many. It's not something I tend to highlight on. I must admit, I'm awful at remembering past games. It happens for me, and then it's gone.
Recency bias is huge with fans. That's madness. Yeah, Pet Check for me. One of the best goalkeeping displays I've ever seen. We were playing Chelsea the day that they won the league at the Reebok, and we were battering them. To be honest,
have you watched us in the Premier League, Colin?
He's asked for a memory, and I'm giving you a memory. Get back in your box, Jack Grealish. Czech were outstanding. We were battering them, and we should have won. And he made probably 4 or 5 world-class saves from several of our players at the time, and they obviously went and beat us 2-0. Lampard scoring 2 goals, and they won the league, but we should have won that game. Check for me. And lots of others, but I don't want to show my Stone Age, so I'm going to shut up about it. I'm going to shut up about these proper players that I've seen us play against in the past.
Just a very quick one to end on. I
was going to say that was the alien. That was the aliens, but I might be considered one of them as well. To be fair,
going down that rabbit hole is we're not
dangerous. Very dangerous.
Michael's wrote and just saying, does it not make more sense for Everett to be up in a gantry more, often analysing the game and passing messages to either Pete Atherton or Stephen Craney so they can relay directions and instructions verbally to the team rather than them all on the touchline doing the same job? I mean, for one, it'll stop him getting involved with referees and opposition players.
It gets him out of
trouble. Getting another ban. But yeah, is there any merit to that? I know. I don't know because I was about 4, but Big Sam used to do it, didn't he? He used to sit in the stands and get on the phone.
Yeah, so Sam used to do it. Sorry, am I allowed to talk about this? I'm not.
Of you can, mate.
Just yeah. So Sam used to do it. Sam used to do it in the first half. He used to sit next to Phil Gartside, God rest his soul. And then he came down in the second half. But obviously in the first half he was linked up to either Brownie or Sammy Lee during his later time as manager. And I think he said in the past himself that he obviously saw a better vantage point. But at the end of the day, you set your players up at the start, don't you, to go out and implement that that tactic. So really, you don't need to be down in the rear from minute one.
Well, I guess it's if the opposition end up lining up different to what you thought they'd do, and you want to counteract that, and you have a better view.
You've got a system there, and exactly, yeah.
No, I guess
I think this highlights whatever he's doing. I mean, he's learning not to headbutt players for a start off, but he's learning also potentially a different way of managing. So maybe that is something that you can take forward. I'd like to see it because I always think that you do get a better view from above for obvious reasons tactically. And yeah, I'd love to see that similar approach to what Sam had.
Yeah, that's a good point. And another thing, I said on the last word that he I think the gantry was shaking towards the end of the game and he was jumping up and down when we'd scored. So I think it needs to be get a bit of a refurbishment or else he'll break it.
Terrifying up there, you know. Have you lads ever been up there?
No, I've not.
Yeah.
Actually,
I don't mind how it's me, but it's bloody high up there, you know.
Yeah,
it is.
I can imagine.
And when the wind's blowing, it's not the nicest place to be.
You can sit next to Sharon though in the first half, can't you? And then get on the touchdown in the second half.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for Fan Focus this week. Sorry, Ben, we've just gone over the hour.
That's all right. It's been a wonderful episode this evening. You've all been fantastic. The chat has been very, very busy. We appreciate you all tuning in and choosing to spend your Sunday evening with us. I knew someone would do it. I knew one of you. It's Colin, isn't it? I can see it. I can tell. It's Colin's.
What about?
You bringing these up on screen?
I'm not.
Oh, that was me.
Oh,
yeah, for audio listeners, Jim's. But come on, fellas, the hour's up. Ben's yawning.
Rude, Jim. He's a rude lad. I'm always having to tell him to say please and thank yous in our chat all the time, and he yawns live on an episode. So yeah, that's what you're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with, Jim. He's not really. He's a lovely lad, but yeah, he just yawns.
There we are.
Doesn't say please and thank you, but other than that, he's sound.
If you spent enough time with Colin Yates in this group chat, you won't be saying please and thank you either.
That was an easy segue, that weren't it, Ben? Easy segue.
It was indeed. Thank you very much for joining us, for spending your Sunday evening with us, and to all the channel members who are spending your hard-earned money on us as well. It is unbelievably appreciated. We thank you all very, very much for your support throughout the whole of the season and on the live shows. It's phenomenal. You're a great bunch.
Speaking of live shows, we've got another one tomorrow, Ben, haven't we?
We do. The podcasts are coming thick and fast. It's busy. I mean, the fixtures are ramping up. We've got the Stevenage preview with we've not actually technically announced the guest yet, but it will be Matt Farley.
We have no.
It'll be with Matt Farley. It wouldn't be anyone else, would it? And then Wednesday you've got your post match. Thursday we'll have a Stockport preview, and then post match, and we'll.
No, we won't.
Hopefully you enjoy it all.
No, we won't. Yeah, Stockport's the week after.
Stockport's the week after.
It's the cup this weekend, so who cares?
It is Walsall. Yeah, we won't be doing one for that. Take care. We'll see you in the next one, and hopefully another 3-point podcast on Sunday.
Better have be Sunday. We play Walsall on Saturday.
You can tell it's over the hour, isn't it?
Come on, Ben.
Late night.
See you later, everyone. Ciao.
See you later.